This video is going to be focusing on some of Freud's theories, particularly the psychosexual development theory, as well as the fixation theory that is linked to the psychosexual theory. So just to contextualize the social context under which this theory was developed, it was during the Victorian era, which was a highly repressive society which Freud lived in and worked in, and women in particular were forced to repress their sexual needs in this time period. So in many cases the result was some form of neurotic illness, and Freud sought to understand the nature and the variety of these illnesses by retracting the sexual history of his patients. This was not primarily an investigation of sexual experiences, but was more focused on the patient's wishes and desires, their experience of love, hate, shame, guilt, and fear, and how they handled these powerful emotions. It was this focus of investigation which led to perhaps some of Freud's more controversial work, the theory of psychosexual development, the Oedipus complex, the electra complex, and fixations. So that's the focus of today's video. So psychoanalytic theory suggested that personality is mostly established by the age of 5. Under this theory, experiences play a large role in the personality development and continue to influence behavior later in life. So once this personality is established, it's going to be dictating certain characteristics of your life for the rest of your life, essentially. So each stage of development is marked by certain conflicts that an individual needs to overcome, or else they will be fixated to them. And these conflicts can help build growth, or when they fail to overcome them, stifle development, depending on how they are resolved. If the psychosexual stages are successful, a healthy personality is the outcome. If certain issues are not resolved at the appropriate stage, fixations can occur. A fixation is a persistent focus on an earlier psychosexual stage, and until this conflict is resolved, the individual will remain stuck in this stage. A person who is fixated at the oral stage, for example, may be overdependent on others and may seek oral stimulation through drinking, smoking, or eating. There are 5 psychosexual stages, and these are oral, anal, phallic, latent, and genital stages. The first stage, the oral stage, has an age range of between birth and 1 year old, and the erogenous zone, the zone where you can receive stimulation, is the mouth. So during the oral stage, the infant's primary source of interaction occurs through the mouth. So the rooting and sucking reflex is especially important. The mouth is vital for eating, and the infant derives pleasure from oral stimulation through gratifying activities such as tasting and sucking. Because the infant is entirely dependent upon caretakers who are responsible for feeding the child also develops a sense of trust and comfort through this oral stimulation. The primary conflict at this stage is the weaning process. The child must become less dependent upon the caretaker. If fixation occurs at this stage, Freud believes that the individual would have issues with dependency or aggression. Oral fixation can result in problems with drinking, eating, smoking, or nail biting. The second stage, the anal stage, occurs between the age range of around 1 year to 3 years old, and the erogenous zone is the bowel and bladder control. During the anal stage, Freud believed that the primary focus of the libido, which is sexual desire, was on controlling bladder and bowel movements. The major conflict at this stage is toilet training, or potty training. The child has to learn to control his or her bodily needs. Developing this control leads to a sense of accomplishment and independence. According to Freud, success at this stage is dependent upon the way in which parents approach toilet training. Parents utilize praise and rewards for using the toilet at the appropriate time, encourage positive outcomes, and help children feel capable and productive. Freud believed that positive experiences during this stage served as the basis for people to become competent, productive, and creative adults. However, not all parents provide the support and encouragement that children need during the stage. Some parents instead punish, ridicule, or shame the child for accidents. According to Freud, inappropriate parental responses can result in negative outcomes. If parents take an approach that is too lenient, Freud suggested that an anal expulsive personality could develop, in which the individual has a messy, wasteful, or destructive personality. If parents are too strict or begin toilet training too early, Freud believed that an anal retentive personality develops, in which the individual is stringent, orderly, rigid, and obsessive. So the third zone is the phallic zone, and the age range here is between 3 years old to 6 years old, and the erogenous zone is the genitals. So Freud suggested that during the phallic stage, the primary focus of the libido is on the genitals. At this stage, children also begin to discover the differences between males and females. Freud also believed that boys begin to view their fathers as a rival for their mother's attention. The Oedipus complex describes these feelings of wanting to possess the mother and a desire to replace the father. However, the child also has a fear that he will be punished by the father for these feelings, a fear that Freud termed castration anxiety. The term electra complex has been used to describe a similar set of feelings experienced by young girls, replacing the mother to be with the father. However, Freud believed that girls instead experience penis envy, a term that is pretty self-explanatory in that the girls wish they had a penis and were male instead of being female. And in this psychosexual stage, eventually the child begins to identify with the same-sex parent as a means of vicariously possessing the other parent. For girls, however, Freud believed that penis envy was never fully resolved, and that all women remained somewhat fixated on the stage. Psychologists such as Karen Horney, the name is unrelated to the theory, disputed this theory, calling it both inaccurate and demeaning to women. For instance, Horney proposed that men experience feelings of inferiority because they cannot give birth to children, a concept she referred to as womb envy. The fourth stage is the latent phase, and this occurs between 6 years and until puberty. So there are no erogenous zones within this stage because sexual feelings, according to Freud, during this period are inactive. During this stage, the superego, which can be compared to a type of ethical and moral compass, continues to develop while the id energies, the id being instincts, are suppressed. Children develop social skills, values, and relationships with peers and adults outside of the family. The development of the ego and the superego contribute to this period of calm. The stage begins around the time that children enter school and become more concerned with peer relationships, hobbies, and other interests. The latent period is a time of exploration in which the sexual energy is repressed or dormant. This energy is still present but is sublimated into other areas such as intellectual pursuits and social interactions. This stage is important in the development of social and communication skills, as well as self-confidence. As with other psychosexual stages, Freud believed that it was possible for children to become fixated or stuck in this place. Fixation at this stage can result in immaturity and an inability to form fulfilling relationships as an adult. The final stage is genital stage, and this has an age range of puberty until death. The erogenous zone here are maturing sexual interests. The onset of puberty causes the libido to become active once again. During the final stage of psychosexual development, the individual develops a strong sexual interest in the opposite sex. Note, this is just what Freud theorized. So this stage begins during puberty, but lasts throughout the rest of the person's life. Where in earlier stages, the focus was solely on individual needs. In this stage, interests in the welfare of others grow. The goal of the stage is to establish a balance between the various life areas. If the other stages have been completed successfully, the individual should be well developed, well balanced, warm, and caring. Unlike many of the other earlier stages of development, Freud believed that the ego and the superego were fully formed and functioning at this point. Younger children are ruled by id, so they're more instinct reactive, which demands immediate satisfaction of the most basic needs and wants. Teens in the genital stage of development are able to balance their most basic urges against the need to conform to the demands of reality, the ego, and social norms. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and a subscribe if you're interested in more.